morning. I am in the middle of my morning routine, which on Monday starts with teaching an early morning yoga class at a local studio here in Copenhagen. And then I either stay at the studio and take the next yoga class after the one I've just taught, or I come home and I do a little bit of gentle movement. And yesterday we had a full-on day, and it was gorgeous weather, so we spent most of the day biking around the city, and now I can't really feel my legs. I really needed some deep stretching, so I did a few minutes of that. And now my chores are mostly done. I still have to walk the dogs, and it's a gorgeous day here in Denmark. Actually, just as I said that, the sun just started to show. The clouds have kind of cleared a path for the sun to shine through. So I'm actually really looking forward to walking the dogs in this beautiful sunny weather. It's a rarity here in Copenhagen, so every sunny day is truly a gift. And also, it's very necessary here to make sure you get out when it's sunny, just for your physical and mental health. My family in Atlanta will probably raise their eyebrows when I tell them this, but it is 44 degrees and sunny, which in Copenhagen means it's kind of a warm day. Back in Atlanta, where I moved here from, that would mean you're in the dead of winter. So it's all about perspective. And when the weather gets to the point where I don't have to wear a scarf and gloves, that's a warm day. And after the boys and I get in from our walk, I am going to shower, of course. And then I'm going to spend some time working on my Danish, which if you've been following my vlogs, you know I am committed to mastering Danish in the next few years. Consistency is key, and I've been practicing my Danish pretty much every day. Even if it's not an hours-long study session, I make sure to speak a little Danish with my husband, and hopefully I will build the confidence soon to speak Danish out in the wild. It's just that every time the opportunity presents itself, I get a little panicked. For instance, yesterday my husband and I went to the movies, actually at a really beautiful movie theater here in Copenhagen. I highly recommend it. It's called Reservoir, and it's like a very intimate, like cozy kind of living room feel, but a movie theater. Has a smaller screen and couches you can sit on, a full menu and bar options. The popcorn there was delicious. Definitely one of my top movie theaters I've tried so far here in Copenhagen. But yeah, once we sat down for the movie, the waitress came over to take our order. She asked what I wanted in Danish, and I understood it, which that's a small victory to celebrate. However, my mind just froze. I guess it was the pressure of having to remember what to say in the moment. So I'm ashamed to say I had to respond back in English, even though I know how to order in Danish. Last week in Danish class, we learned all about food and ordering food and looking at a menu. So I knew it, and I had the opportunity to actually apply what I've been learning, and I blew it. But I'm gonna give myself some grace because the language is still very new, and I know it's gonna take some time for me to feel comfortable and confident enough to just speak Danish at a moment's notice. Because it's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to have a conversation with a native. Right now, it takes me some time to gather my thoughts and kind of translate in my mind, and I don't want to waste anyone's time. And I just have to seek out opportunities to practice at a very slow beginner's pace. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'm also going to challenge myself the next time I'm ordering food to try and at least speak a sentence of Danish. And then that will be an accomplishment. So we'll see how that goes. All right, boys, you ready to go on your walk? Yeah. High five. Yeah, good job.
Ja, præcis. Hvad med dig?
Jeg spiller stadig med banen hver torsdag.
Hvad laver du efter arbejde?
Hvad laver du efter arbejde?
I weekenden?
I weekenden?
I din fritid?
I din fritid?
Slapper af?
Jeg slapper af.
Hører musik?
Hører musik.
Er sammen med min kæreste?
Er sammen med min kæreste.
Skriver e-mails til mine venner?
Skriver e-mails til mine venner.
Ser fjernsyn?
Ser fjernsyn.
Laver jeg mad?
Laver jeg mad. Jeg går til yoga fra klokken 5 til klokken halv 7 om mandagen.
Moderne dansk.
Modern dans.
Svømning.
Svømning.
Karate.
Karate.
Om mandagen.
Om mandagen.
Om søndagen.
Om søndagen. Om mandagen går jeg til fransk, og om onsdagen går jeg til fitness med min kollega. Hvad laver du om aftenen? Nogle gange læser jeg, og nogle gange ser jeg fjernsyn.
Jeg besøger min familie. Jeg ser fjernsyn.
This little boy just loves to lay in the sun. It's funny because whenever there's like a little patch of sunlight streaming through the windows, this guy will find it and just lay out and enjoy the sun on his fur. I feel like a human solar-powered battery right now. I have the windows open and I'm just trying to soak up as much sun as I can. The sun is streaming right down on me from where I'm sitting, and it feels so good. And I was going to sit on the couch to speak to you, but as you can see, my little boys are laying out enjoying the sunlight from the couch, and I didn't want to disturb them. You enjoying? I feel like now that the temperature has started to rise here in Denmark, I just want to laze around in the sun, and I've just been taking long, luxurious walks with my dogs, and that's not the most interesting thing to vlog. But I've also been attempting to speak Danish in the wild, as I said earlier in this video, and it's not been going so well. I think I need to make more of an effort than just going out and speaking right now, since my abilities are limited and I'm still on a beginner level. Speaking in real life scenarios is difficult. My mind doesn't think quickly in Danish yet, so anytime someone's come up and spoken to me with the expectation that I know Danish, I just put pressure on myself to speak it back perfectly, and that has prevented me from speaking Danish at all. And then even today, when I was at the grocery store, when I went up to the cashier, I was waiting to hear "Skal du have boen?" so that I could reply back, "Nej tak," or "Ja tak," or whatever I wanted to reply back. I was ready. I was ready to have a real world Danish language interaction. But then the cashier never asked me that. She just scanned my groceries, took my pay, and kept the receipt. And I guess that would have been a great time for me to ask for the receipt in Danish. And I thought that to myself in the moment. And then I realized we never practiced asking for the receipt in Danish in class specifically. Like maybe I could have said "Må jeg få boen?" Maybe that's the right way to say it. I don't know. And that's the thing. And that's the thing that's really tough about learning a new language, is straying away from the sentences you've learned specifically and playing with the language and creating your own sentences based on what you know. Because even if it's a little bit off, even if it's not exactly the way native speakers would speak, chances are if you use what you know and kind of Frankenstein a sentence together, people will understand. But it takes some confidence and it takes some quick thinking, both of which I'm realizing I don't quite yet have. I think the fact that I'm willing to think about starting to use my Danish out and about is a good first step. And you know what? I actually did speak a little bit of Danish out in the wild this week. I forgot. As you will have seen, my husband and I went to Cinemateket, and they had like this little cafe with all these delicious baked goods. I have to say, they had really delicious sweets there. Who would have thought in a movie theater? But all of the baked goods were listed, of course, in Danish. And some of the names for the foods I recognized from what I've been learning in class, but some of the names were new to me. The word for carrot cake, I'm gonna mess this one up, gulerodskage. That's how I said it to the cashier. And he said, good job, close enough. And he probably was just being nice, but it made me feel proud that I was confident enough to attempt a difficult to pronounce word in front of a native speaker, and I was understood. And I never learned the word for carrot or heard the word for carrot pronounced ever. Not only did I learn a new word, I also tried it out and got some positive feedback. Some of you have expressed that you can relate to my language learning journey. I think the biggest key that I've learned from learning Danish and also from my previous experience with learning German is you gotta just take the leap. Gotta take the leap, you've gotta speak it out in the wild. When you get the opportunity, you have to try. And I think my biggest roadblock right now is that I just want to be polite. And I assume if I start speaking in my very slow and broken Danish, that people will be impatient with me. And that may be true, but also, who cares? Who cares? If someone's gonna be so rude as to make you feel bad for attempting to learn something, that's their problem. I mean, obviously, if you're at the cashier at a grocery store and there's a long line behind you, not the best time to practice your language. But if you have a scenario where it's just you and one other person and you wanna take the opportunity to practice, don't be afraid to ask, can I practice a little slow Danish with you? Or just don't be afraid to ask if you can practice with them. Or even just start the conversation by speaking in the few words you know. I think people will be pleasantly surprised that you're trying. So I'm gonna remind myself of that. And by next week, I'm telling you now so that I hold myself accountable, I'm going to start speaking Danish out in my regular everyday life as much as possible. Even if it's just one sentence a day, I think that's the only way to break through the barrier of fear that's preventing me from just making Danish a part of my everyday life. So yeah, it's gonna happen. There's no excuses. One thing I think about all the time is how when I was speaking German, I wish there was more opportunities to speak German. And now I'm learning Danish and there's literally daily opportunities to speak. I have to remind myself of what a blessing that is and how fun that is. And I get to challenge myself and try. And the more I do it, the better I'm gonna get. And then in a few years, I'll be fluent in this language. And I'm gonna remember these moments when I was scared and think of how silly I was to be scared of it. Just from the comments I've gotten of all the encouragement and all the warmth from native Danish speakers, I know that when I try it out in the world, I think people are gonna be encouraging. So yeah, that's my mission. Speaking more Danish, soaking up the sun, little things that can bring me joy in this moment, remind me of why I moved here. It's a beautiful thing. I think the sunlight is now following me. Gotta move over a little more. Feels really nice and warm in here. Actually looking forward to taking the dogs out again in this sun. So I think they'll enjoy running around in the sun as well. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end this week's vlog here. If you're here in Denmark, I hope you enjoy this gorgeous weather we are having this weekend. And if you're not, I hope you enjoy wherever you're at and have a beautiful, magical week. I'll see you next time.